All right, everybody, welcome. Tonight, marketing. Oh, man, this is like, everyone's like, oh my God, yay. Welcome, internet land. We're broadcasting this from GTA Imaging here in Toronto, and basically tonight is all about marketing, your photography business. I'm Trevor, I run Provocateur Images, and tonight's focus is going to be about kind of that B2C or business to end consumer type thing. There will be some business to business or B2B ideas that I'm sure you'll be able to take away in this, but tonight I'm going to be focusing more on B2C. Now, for this presentation, the main thing I want to really focus on is people in the watching live through YouTube Live. I really want you to ask questions and be engaged. We have somebody manning a computer, or womaning a computer. Is that what? Jen?
Woman extraordinaire.
Woman extraordinaire, according to Jen, if you didn't hear that through my mic. She'll be taking questions, she'll be flagging me down, and feel free to engage and interact and have some fun. But that's the name of the game. Now, what we're doing tonight is kind of like a little bitty tidbit of what I do with my business mentoring program. My business mentoring program literally evolved out of just me needing to help a friend, really is what it came from. And the whole idea there is they just needed help getting a push in the right direction. My background is, I guess, in the business arena. I've been a salesperson, I've run divisions of companies and done all that kind of stuff, but ultimately, I'm taking a lot of those skills and applying them to my photographic career. Because I used to be in the photo retail side of things and then on the distribution side. And when I realized that industry is not exactly the healthiest place to be right now, I decided I should probably do something else. And so I decided to start a photography business. And a lot of those things along the way, really, like, these are the tips that I'm giving you. Like, all those things, I just pounded my head against the wall all the time trying to figure out how to get customers and do the right thing. That's what the business mentoring program is really all about. So it is designed for people who have kind of a refined focus, or at least a semi-focus. If you're just into taking pictures of everything and anything, I need somebody who's a little bit further along than that. But if you've got a good idea of what you want to do and what your business is going to be about, that's where I can come in and help you, because it's all about marketing and pricing and strategy and presentation and branding and a whole bunch of other stuff. But there's a lot to it. But the people I think we really want to talk about and thank right now are the folks at GTA Imaging. Not only are they hosting our event, but also they're the lab I use for pretty much everything I do as a finished product, whether that be a print, a book, postcards, business cards, wall art. I'm looking around the room right now going like, what haven't I ordered? That's a very short list, by the way. And they're always coming up with new products. So what I really like to do is I'd like to say thanks to them for hosting us, number one, but also for all of you to come check out what they do. If you can't make it here in person, either call them up or check out their website. But they got quality products, and the whole focus of why we're doing these little talks is to make photographers in the photo world a stronger place. That's really what it comes down to. As photographers, we kind of live in this very insular bubble. We kind of work as a single person operation in most times, and we don't necessarily talk to other photographers a whole lot, which is really kind of upsetting. Like, I'm lucky because I have a studio and I talk to photographers all the time. They come over to my place, we have some alcoholic or adult beverages, and then we hang out, we talk, and we talk about marketing ideas sometimes. Sometimes we talk about sports, sometimes we talk about who knows what, but ultimately we talk. And that's what gives you ideas, and that's kind of the reason that we decided to put on these series of presentations. Because if we can make everybody in here a stronger photographer, not only from a business perspective, but just as a knowledgeable person that knows how this industry works, because a lot of us transition into photography as from like a hobby to something else, and a lot of us struggle. I mean, I went through a lot of struggles to start things up. And with these series of talks, I think we're gonna do some pretty good things. So tonight is marketing your photography, and in 2 weeks, my personal favorite, in-person sales. So if you guys can make that, which I really hope you can, it's gonna be fun, because that whole idea is, how can I make you an extra $300 to $1,000 more on every client order, right? Like, just think about it. You didn't have to add any extra customers. All you're doing is increasing your profit. That would probably help most people out there, I would think, right? So hopefully you can make it out in 2 weeks for that. But let's review a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about what we talked about 2 weeks ago, because that is kind of the cornerstone of what I need to talk about tonight. So last week, what did we talk about?
Focusing who your client or customers.
So we talked.
6 different types.
Yeah, we talked about different client types. So we talked about, like, who is your customer, and really think about it. And you actually said, you went through the exercise and went, yeah, light bulb goes off, because you've got to focus. You know who that customer is, and all of a sudden you go, wow, I know how to talk to them now. So tonight, we're going to talk about how to talk to them. That's the logical next step. So, because ultimately, if your client wants to book, say, a photographer for some genre of photography, if you align perfectly with them, they're going to be like, I almost don't care what your price is. I want you to shoot my fill in the blank, right?
That's great, but I've heard the exact opposite, where it's like, it's all about price.
Yes, so you've heard the opposite, it's all about price. Yeah, there are going to be people who are solely focused on price. When you have the right customer who is in line with you, that, I promise you, becomes less of an issue. Because if you're only attracting people who are budget conscious, all you're going to have is people who are simply looking for the lowest possible price. If you attract people who go, man, that person's art is just, wow, I want them to do that for me, pricing is not irrelevant, but it is less of an issue, because you're now offering them something that other people perceivingly cannot do, okay? Because everybody can take pictures, but not everybody can do it the way you do, right?
Because the other thing I'm struggling with is, what I hear often, and something we've heard this before, is that I'm expensive, but when I kind of compare myself to other photographers, I'm really not that expensive. So
you've heard.
I'm asking myself, are they really comparing me to other
Yeah.
guys? Or?
So you've heard, like, somebody saying to you that you're expensive, and you're comparing yourself to other photographers, saying, well, not really, but yeah, there's going to be. Yeah, exactly. And there are some people who what, you charge, in my case, more than $1,000 for a boudoir session? What? Yeah, I get that a lot. And one thing I want to talk about tonight is about all those leads. We're going to be talking about leads in general, and I'm going to get to that in a second. But ultimately, you're not going to please everybody. And let's say I get roughly 2 new leads a day. And so let's say that out of those 10 leads that I've gotten Monday to Friday, I'll have 1 or 2 that are serious. And the other ones are going to be like, what? You charge that much? I thought the guy on Kijiji was kind of weird and go to their house to have the pictures taken. That's a little nutsy in my world, but they exist. But you know what? I realize they're not my customer. They like my work, but they're not my customer. All right? And I have no problem with that whatsoever. But I think I'm going to start off tonight, because we're talking about marketing. I'm going to talk about this thing I call the hustle. Right? It's not the disco dance or whatever the heck you're thinking right now, okay? Because I am not doing that. I don't dance ever. Not even alcohol helps that, by the way. But the hustle. Everybody here is feeding themselves with photography? Yes, let's see. Interwebs, I'm sure, will raise their hand at their desk. Yeah.
Chicken.
Yeah, it's not foie gras, it's leftover chicken. Yeah, it's like, it's that. But we gotta, ramen noodles, that'd be even better. Right. So, if we're feeding ourselves with taking pictures, you'll probably realize that when you make that transition from the 9 to 5, by the way, who liked the 9 to 5 who was working one? Did anybody love their, no? That's probably why you're doing this. So you've transitioned. The hardest thing I had to get over without that 9 to 5 was that in every second week, I would have a paycheck that was very unsurprising because I'd look down and I go, that's the amount I expected. Now, it's a little different. Now I look down at the paycheck. Well, first of all, I pay myself, so it's like not really a paycheck in a manner of speaking. But it is based on what money I have to pay myself. If I decide, you know what, I don't feel like working this week, well, don't expect a paycheck at the end of the next one, okay? That's the reason I say you got to do the hustle, because if you don't have customers inquiring and you don't have those new jobs, you don't have income. So that's why I call it the hustle. You're always hustling for that next gig. And it becomes second nature, and it becomes not as hard as you think. But it is something that you have to be aware of, that you are going to have to do that. And if you're not used to that idea, or you think, ugh, I don't like that idea, maybe this isn't the career for you. But I think because most of us sitting in these chairs, and sure as heck out on the internet there, because you're doing this semi-professionally or professionally, you've come to realize that we're gonna do some hustling. And there's one other really key thing I wanna really talk about tonight. And I'm gonna lay the groundwork for this and just plant this seed in your head. And that is, you have to spend money to make money. Marketing 101. You can't simply do everything for free. Okay? Can I just make that blanket statement tonight and you're all gonna go like this. So all of you out in internet land, go like this at your computer. Everybody here in the room, go like this. You have to spend money to make money. Without that simple concept in mind, you are going to run into problems. There are all sorts of people who will tell you you can do all sorts of free marketing, and I don't disagree with them. But sometimes you need to add on to that. Okay? So that's all I'm going to say about spending money to make money. So since we're talking about spending money, I'd love to see a show of hands in the room. Who has an actual marketing budget? 1, 2, and a half? That was ish, right, well, okay.
Budget.
It may not be a defined budget, but ultimately, I think you gotta have a budget. You gotta have, like, a lot of times when people sell stuff, they go, okay, I sold this for $1,000, my costs were $400, the $600 goes all to me. No, that's a mistake. Obviously, there's other costs that might be involved in that might eat up that $600, but I don't think enough people apply that pay yourself first philosophy to setting aside a marketing budget. I basically say that roughly anywhere between 15 and 30% of what I make, and I'm not saying you guys have to do these numbers either. It's because it's going to be money that you may or may not have. Like if you're having a tight month and your car needs new suspension and stuff, if anybody wants to Kickstarter me for that, I'd be all over that because they told me the price and I nearly fell off my chair. But you might need money for something else. But generally speaking, I take 15 to 30%. And I just put it in a separate account, and that is my marketing money that just builds up. So sometimes, on a regular basis, I might be running a Facebook ad or a Google ad, and that's just ongoing, right? So I just might take money out of that separate checking account and just kind of use that as my marketing dollars. It's kind of like okay, rather than having a bunch of money sitting in my business bank account that I can just go spend because somebody made a new camera that I went, oh, I must have that. It's a way. I know that is marketing money. And I can spend that on trade shows, I could spend that on ads, I could spend that on promotional material, but it's my money. And it's sucked off of every job pretty much. It's a little bit of manual work, but it's there, right? So it just becomes funds that I have to allocate to this. Because it's sometimes tough when you're a small business to just make a flat blanket statement saying, well, 15% of all my stuff is going to be marketing. It doesn't always translate perfectly that way. So that's kind of one of the ways I could suggest you guys do a marketing budget. Some of the other ways is to look at something like a marketing calendar as well. Like who plans for the future? I'm not talking financially planning or just desiring your kids to get out of the house. That's not exactly what I mean. But I'm talking about planning. So you're a wedding photographer. Are wedding photographers seasonal for you wedding photographers out there? Yeah, everybody gets married all year round. It's probably more likely that there's going to be more weddings in the summer, right? Okay, so your marketing plan or calendar might be more in line with, okay, I'm going to put a heavy focus on advertising wedding services, not the summer of, but I might do this back a year ahead of time. Like, you may not actually be advertising the summer sessions. You may be advertising next summer's sessions during this summer, simply because that's the nature of the beast. People don't just, yeah, I'm getting married next week. You available? Now, yes, I know people do. I know there are those clients out there. Probably not the best clients. I love clients who come to me and it's like, listen, I'm getting married. I want to do a bridal boudoir session. When are you getting married? 6 months. I'm like, yes. It's not a last minute job, meaning they're planning ahead. They're probably going to take this more seriously versus, oh my God, are you available tomorrow? No, it's Sunday. I'm not working. So there's definitely, if you plan and you start talking to these people in the right time frame with the right calendar, you can start making some money doing this. Likewise, like if you know that you do a lot of family portraits in the spring because the grass is green, it's not too hot, there's dandelion-filled fields that look beautiful, you may advertise that a month ahead or start advertising it a month ahead of when the dandelions fill all the grass. So you could go out and you could say, hey, I'm booking sessions, I've got this great field. You may have snapped a picture the year before, you use that as your ad picture, and then you start advertising that on maybe Facebook, because you could put a graphic on there rather than say a Google ad. You can start putting that on your Instagram page and your every social media thing, your website, and you're booking these sessions for these 2 weekends because that's when things are going to be primed, right? It might be a magnolia tree, I don't know. But it has this finite window of when it's available. And so you start thinking about this ahead of time. I mean, the way my seasons work is, let's see if you guys can figure it out. I'm a boudoir photographer. When do you think my 2 busiest times a year are? Christmas? Valentine's. Yeah. I love how you raise your hand in the back. You're so proper. I love it. Yell out. I don't care. Christmas and Valentine's are my 2 biggest times of year. My plan for Christmas is done in July. That's when I set everything up. That's when I schedule the emails that will go out to my newsletters. That's when I start scheduling some Facebook posts, scheduling blog posts. I'm months ahead of this. Now keep in mind, Christmas for me runs from roughly mid-October to mid-November. So that's why I'm doing this in July. I'm trying to stay ahead of the curve. I don't want to be like, oh wow, it's mid-November. Somebody just contacted me asking about a Christmas session. I should advertise that. I don't want to be in that position. So that's where my marketing plan comes into effect. If you've been doing this for long enough, you'll start noticing when your trends are, and then what you try to do is you try to get ahead of the curve. I don't want you behind the curve. I don't want you being reactionary. I want you to be proactive. So if you're going to take one thing home tonight, really think about when you're planning and prepping and doing all this kind of marketing work. Do you have a question?
I do. I don't know if it's a little weird, but I mean, you're talking about advertising on Facebook and all that. So are you talking about like broadly advertising, or advertising on like a targeted, like a wedding board or something?
Yeah, so the question is like when I used Facebook as the example, am I talking about being very specific or am I being very broad? Maybe both. Depends what I'm advertising. I mean, if I'm with regard, like I'll talk a little bit more about this later, but I mean, you with things like Facebook, because remember, Facebook was conceived and then they went, hey, wait a minute. We know everything about this person, like everything. What if we sold that to marketers? And then Facebook went public. So that's basically the story of Facebook. The long and short is, you can basically say, run an awareness campaign that you exist. That could be a broad thing saying, you know, in my case, it might be women between the ages of 25 and 35 spoken to in a certain way, anywhere in my general range of sphere of influence, which could be from Oshawa to Hamilton and as far north as Barrie. All right, so I might just do a big cluster bomb type of approach to that. Conversely, I might go and be very specific with something like Facebook too. Like I could say, only women getting married, who are obviously in a committed relationship, so they're engaged, certain age range, and then I could narrow it down to a postal code if I wanted to. So like I could target a very affluent area, which I've learned from experience is not necessarily the best idea. So, you know, like you can do both. There's no right or wrong answer. It depends on what your context is, I guess. Now, in terms of marketing budgets, what else? I'd love to hear from the group here, like even online as well. What else have you guys done as far as marketing budgets? Have you ever sat down and thought, okay, I'm going to spend this much money this year? Has anybody ever done a percentage?
Monthly.
You do a monthly thing, so talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, depending on how much I get or whatever's extra, that's how much I deal with. The planning I'm just starting to, but it's more of, okay, well, there's an extra $25. Like you said, doing an awareness thing.
Yeah, so you kind of take, so basically the money you make this month would then be applied to the coming month.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not necessarily squirreled away for a future bigger plan in a way. So, okay, but it works, and you're doing it, and you're at least accounting for it. The thing is with marketing, I guess and Jen, let me know if anybody chimes in too. The big thing with marketing is that if nobody's thinking like, I have this money and I have to spend it, you're kind of selling yourself short, I think. Like you're not giving yourself a budget. And when you go like, oh, there's a golden opportunity, you're like, oh, where am I going to come up with this $200 or $2,000, right? Like let's say somebody approaches you to do a trade show, and that trade show, you go like, that would actually be a good fit for me, but I ain't got $2,000 right now, right? That's why I like taking that and just kind of putting it into a marketing fund. And if I don't use those dollars at the end of the year, guess what? I get a new toy. Okay, so like, or I could carry over to the next year or whatever I want to do. Like I could either pay myself that money or I could put it back into the business. But ultimately, I've separated that money so that I know I've got that money to work with. So if something big comes along, I could, okay, that sounds like a good plan. We'll do that. And we'll take a big chunk of money and move it over and pay for something. So, yeah. Oh,
I was just going to say, Brent has said that he usually sets aside 10% of every job for marketing for the next season.
that's great.
Do you have a recommended percentage per job?
Well, you said Brent sets aside 10% from each job, which is fantastic. That honestly, Brent, That's good to hear. And that's not a bad way of doing things. There's no right answer to this because it depends where you're marketing or where you're using your marketing dollars. I mean, if most of them go into promo materials, you may not need that whole 10% because it may not cost you as much to make postcards and business cards and things like if that's your marketing approach. If you do a lot of online advertising, you may need more than 10%. And if 10% and you're doing $500 jobs, that's $50. So that might not, like 10%, there's no right answer with a percentage. It kind of depends on what your business is and how much volume you do. Because if you're doing you're doing 50,000 a month, well, that's $5,000. You may not need the $5,000. Now, it'd be great if you could apply $5,000 to a lot of different things, but it may not, I think as your volume is smaller, your percentage might be bigger. And as you get bigger, that number might go down, right? But there's no right answer. The only wrong answer is, I'm not factoring this in at all. That's what would terrify me.
Joe would like to know, he says, I think the idea sometimes feels overwhelming at the start. What might be a good initial start to promoting one's work? A good middle level strategy and then a high level strategy?
What was their name?
Joe.
Joe, can you wait 15 minutes? Because the question was something like, what's a mid-level strategy? Because it's overwhelming and there's like a lot of stuff to know about. I promise you I'm giving you a whole bunch of free, inexpensive, and paid. You just got to hang with me through the entire presentation, okay?
How do you know it's a good fit?
How do you know if it's a good fit? Well, sometimes it's going to be trial and error. I've run Facebook ads. First of all, I hate Facebook. Sorry, Facebook. They hate me because I have pictures of people in their underwear, and they don't like that. So I therefore don't like them. It's very petty, I know. But I've run a whole bunch of Facebook ads in the past, and some have sort of worked and some haven't worked at all. And I don't necessarily think that there's a right fit or a wrong fit. It's sometimes your message could be wrong, why it doesn't work. Number two, it just simply could be, you have to try it to know. You know, like I've tried trade shows in the past, and I had a horrible experience with them. I've done 2 trade shows this year and had great experiences with them because I went with a different approach. I wasn't sure if they were going to be the right fit, and the 2 trade shows I did were a big scale, huge dollar one, and a very low dollar, low budget one. All right? And both of them kind of came out looking about the same, and I'll talk more about trade shows later. But that's the good fit. You won't know sometimes until you try. You may try something and have massive success with it. I may try the same thing, and I might not like it so much because it might not be the right fit for my business. And sometimes it's just a matter of trial and error. I hate to give that answer, but in all honesty, that's what I've experienced over the years. Is a little bit of trial and error never hurt anyone. Be smart about it, but sometimes you got to try. So tonight, as I kind of alluded to earlier, tonight's mission is all about acquiring the magical thing we call leads. These are not booked customers. These are not anything other than just someone that potentially is interested in your service. That's what a lead is. I get a number of inquiries through my website or even phone calls, because people are interested in what I do. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if I take 10 leads, I may only end up booking 2 of them. 8 of them will go, "You charge how much? Oh my God." Or, "Wow, okay, something other factor," or they just never respond to me. And I'm like, look, my skin is super thick these days. It looks really soft and supple, but it's really actually pretty thick. I don't moisturize, that's why. But honestly, you just need inquiries. That's what a healthy business is going to do. I mean, just be a storefront for a second. Imagine you're a retail store. You sell widgets, and you have all sorts of people walking in front of your store. So what could you do to get people into the store? I just want to hear the wild and weird ideas that you guys might have. What might you do to get people into that store?
Create a really interesting display.
Interesting display in the window, maybe. Okay.
I've got a widget costume outside.
Widget costume. I was going to say gorilla suit, but widget costume works just as well. What else might you have? Fancy sandwich board with really witty slogans about widgets? You know. Free cupcakes. My personal favorite, though, and you can never go wrong with them, kittens and puppies. Facebook has taught us nothing. Kittens and puppies. Maybe baby piglets, too. They're cute, too. But like ultimately, you're trying to get people in your door. You just need them to come into your store, see your widgets, and go, I want that widget.
Can't put a piglet in a lingerie pant.
No, you can't usually put piglets into like lingerie, but you could try.
Yeah.
It's probably cute.
Yeah.
You could never go wrong. But remember, we were selling widgets, not boudoir. So, yeah, you know what? Like ultimately, you just want people in your door. They may not buy anything. They may walk around and be like, hey, this is a nice store. Great widgets. I gotta go. All right? And you gotta be okay with that, right? Not just think about you as a customer. Has anybody ever browsed a camera store in this group? Never bought anything? Oh God, no. No. All those people I dealt with all those years? No, there's no such thing as somebody just looking. All right? And there's going to be people who are just looking. Sometimes leads that I get may not transition into a customer now, but they were the 6-month or 1-year planners. They're like, that looks interesting. I'm going to check that out. I'm going to get a price list, some info. Okay, yeah, I'm not interested now. Maybe I'll sign up for the e-newsletter, and then I'm going to go on my way. But they may be back later. I don't know that for sure. But remember, you're just trying to get a customer to be interested in you. That's what a lead is, okay? You got to get those in order to get jobs. So they are the precursor to the hustle. Leads are everything. You need these. Oh, and by the way, you need a good way of keeping track of all these leads. If anybody here is really savvy, go find yourself a client management software, or CMS. I use one called Tave. It's freaking awesome. There are others. I use that one. I don't really get anything for advertising them, but they're awesome. So I just love that software, because what it does is when somebody sends me a message through my website, it automatically gets sucked into Tave. I then see, oh, new lead. I can use a pre-formatted response email to send them some info and then respond to their questions. And then after I've sent that, 3 or 4 days later, if I haven't heard back from them, it goes, hey, this person you haven't heard back from, do you know? And then I go, I should email them. And then I go and email them a little reminder saying, hey, thanks for, I sent you an info package a few days ago. Got any questions? I'd love to hear from you. You come by the studio, have a consult. You know, try to spark a dialogue. If you're ready to book, you know, let me know. And then if I don't hear anything again, then I send them one more email, like totally angry. Like, seriously, why aren't you? No, I totally don't get angry at them. I'm like, no, I know life gets in the way, and I'm paraphrasing my emails. But like, I know life gets in the way, but, you know, like, contact me. You obviously loved the work. You know, you loved it so much you wanted more info. Tell me what's holding you back. No judgment. Just let me know. I'm here to answer questions. I love talking to people. So it's not like total naggy. Like, I mean, I learned from my mom how not to nag, because she sort of nagged. Sorry, Mom. But so I did the opposite of what she did to me when my room was messy, right? Like, why have you done that? No, I don't play that game. I try to encourage people to talk to me. Like, what I do is intimidating for a lot of people, and they might be a little shy or embarrassed. So, I mean, I try to make it easy. But ultimately, I'm trying to get them to contact me. I want to turn that lead into an eventual booking. But client management software allows me not to forget about people. Because if there is anybody in this room who is forgetful, I will challenge any of you, because Captain Forget is right here. Oh, look, walking down the street, I got to email that person. Squirrel! You know, like that's what'll happen to me. I am like that, like you have no idea. But, you know, having a software that reminds me to like do stuff with regards to leads, really helpful. And I mean, I could completely automate that process if I really wanted to as well. But I don't. I kind of like to have a little interaction with people. And I can do it from my phone, do it from my tablet, do it from my computer. As long as I have an internet connection, it's all good. So client management softwares, I could do a whole presentation just on them. Because I can't tell you for the roughly $15 to $25 a month you'll spend on them, how cheap it is to do that versus having a personal assistant. Like it's night and day. So fantastic little tool. So enough rants on CMSs. I love them. I can't stress them how good they are. But we have a few different ways of reaching people because we want to take all those leads, get them into our little funnel of love. Let's call it funnel of love. Yeah, sure, right? Good? No? Not so much? Not the funnel of love? All right, fine. Tried to play on the tunnel of love thing, but nobody bought. All right. So there's a number of different ways we can get people to kind of contact us. I mean, we got direct email, website, partner programs, online marketing, trade shows, word of mouth, social media, and referral programs. And guess what? We're going to talk about pretty much every one of those tonight. How cool is that? Now, is anybody using any of these? Okay, so I'm guessing that social media is probably the one everybody's using, right? Let me just see your hands. Who's got an e-newsletter that they use? Good, Jen. Jen's off the screen. She's over there. And then we had a half a hand that was either a gang sign or I don't know what it was.
No, I use it because one of the things I do is I photograph an off-road race series in Ontario.
Okay, you photograph off-road racers.
Yeah.
Nice.
So for that one, I do the direct email program, letting them know the race is coming up, letting them know I'm going to be at the race.
Oh, cool. So you're proactively saying, hey, I'm going to be at the race. Check me out. That's very cool.
So then I got a booth set up that's unmanned, but it shows some shots from previous races and have some flyers.
Cool.
Where
So
they
you
can go to the website to buy it.
Nice. So you do use some email marketing. I will tell you right now, before I get into the email marketing thing, that is the one you probably want to focus on the most. I will talk about why later. I want to talk a lot about partner programs tonight. I want to talk about some other online marketing ideas. Mention trade show. Referral programs will also be a big part of tonight. So you have a question.
After you go through all of that, will you talk a little bit about return on investment per form too? That's a question from the audience.
Okay. Everybody's going to be a little bit, sorry, and I guess I should repeat the question. Will I talk about return on investment of all of those different formats? Yes, but you'll have to read between the lines a little bit.
Okay.
It's not 100% like this one is definitely better than the other. I would say the only time I'm going to make that statement is email. Emails would probably be the best thing that's worked for me, but hey, that's my business, not yours. You may have great success with other stuff.
Will you go over newsletters and what you should have in them and everything else for the direct email? Or is
Yeah.
that a little different?
Will I go into what should go into a good newsletter? Yes, absolutely. But that's coming. Right after we take a quick break. I got to reset some stuff, okay? So interwebs, we'll be back in, like it says 10 minutes. We probably only need about 5. I want everybody to get up, stretch, because I'm about to hit you over the head with some marketing ideas. So get your pens and papers ready.
There's a quiz at the end.
go. All right, so let's continue here after our wonderful, very abbreviated 10-minute break. First tool you have in your marketing arsenal should be your website. In my business mentoring program, I ruthlessly annihilate people on the websites they have, not only from a text and copy standpoint, but also the images that are on there, how it performs on mobile devices, how it loads, how it behaves, like all of this stuff, right? Now, I mean, there's a lot of different platforms you as photographers can use. There's things like Squarespace and WordPress and somebody fire at something else. I mean, I'm drawing a blank. Zenfolio, yeah. What's that? Blue something. I like blue something. I don't know what blue something is. Wix is another one. Photo Shelter. Okay. Now, you got to remember that your website is your primary source of showing anybody what you do. These days, everybody will hit your website. Like, you're not just going to come to a trade show and be like, oh, wow, that's like a great book. Wow, that's a great, okay. I am ready to book on the spot. That almost never happens, okay? They're gonna go check you out, figure out what's on your website, do I like the images, so on and so forth. People just searching for your genre of photography will stumble across your website. People who see you on social media will hopefully be directed back to your website. If you run an ad, you're gonna be directing them to your website. Your website, in no uncertain terms, has to be kick-ass. And I'm like, all caps, kick-ass. There is no other way to put this. If you don't know how to do it, find someone to do it. This is the one thing across any genre of photography. Somebody asks, like, you want to rate something for ROI? 100% ROI. This is the only thing I'll say 100% ROI. Website is critical. So, some of the things you'll want to have on your website. 1, an active blog. But I hate writing. Me too. I do it anyway. Why do I do it? Because Google likes it. You know that big Google machine that people go like, what's the cutest kitten ever into? That Google, right? That Google is going to look at how often you post. And if your last post was November 14th of 2014, it's not going to see your website as being all that active. So you don't want to screw that up. Yep. How often should you blog? As often as you can and is realistic. I mean, if once a week is what you can do, once a week is what you can do. Now, before I get to me, how about you guys?
Well, the big question I always get is, what do you blog?
What do you blog? Okay, good, because that's what I was going to talk about. What's the minimum? Oh man, I would say you got to be doing 1 a week. I mean, I'm guilty of not doing that sometimes because I get busy. But 1 a week would be good. And, yep.
What about is it job related? Because what if it's not enough coming into blog once a week?
Well, okay, so what if not, if you're going to be doing it job related? Yes and no. So here's the way I blog. And these are my categories on a blog. I use WordPress for my site. Do I think WordPress is the most awesome platform out there? Yes. Does Wix do the job and is it as easy? Yeah. Is Squarespace easy? Yeah. Do I have anywhere near the control as I do on WordPress? Oh God, no. All right? So look, if you're not a web person, I know enough web stuff to be dangerous to myself. Okay? So I am perfectly comfortable doing this. Maybe web stuff is something you outsource. If you want to do it yourself, that's totally cool. But here's how I basically look at my categories. I will post here's a bunch of pretty pictures. That's actually a category title I have, pretty pictures. Then there's encouragement posts that I will write something about, here's an example of somebody. She came in, like, first of all, I have to be very anonymous with my posting. I can't just be like, Mary something or other came in for a shoot. I can't do that with my genre of photography. I have to keep privacy at like a very top level. But it's like the encouragement posts, like, Mary lost 100 pounds and she did this as a reward for herself. You can do that too. That might be an encouragement post. There might be info stuff like, what are the best underwear to bring to your boudoir session? And yes, I do know the answer. What are the best heels? And then I talk about styles and stuff like that, which underwear sort of falls into. There's a number of other little topics I could write. Like, I mean, let's go outside my genre. Like, let's say I'm a kid photographer. Well, what are the 3 most fun places you could do a kid session? That might be a good blog post. What things could you dress your kids in? That might be another blog post. First of all, your blog should not be like, look at all my pretty pictures. Boring. No sticky content, nothing fun. If you do your blog posts correctly, and your title is top 3 places to photograph your engagement sessions in Toronto, guess what people might search for?
Top 3 places to
You might want to title stuff very creatively, and then you come up as the top result. Even though it's not like Toronto wedding photographer that they're searching for, they might be searching for something else, but Google will look at things like lists a lot. And they'll kind of fire you up, and they'll hit your blog post first, but then they go, oh, cool, and then let me check out the rest of their stuff. So remember, blogging is not, there's a great book called Blogging Brilliantly. Please write that down. She should so comp me for all the people I've told about this book. But I couldn't honestly tell you who wrote it. It's fantastically easy read. It's like really big type, so it's like, I don't know, half an inch thick. Honestly, you could blast through it if you were even a close to professional reader. You could blast through it in one night. I would suggest you kind of take little chunks at a time and just think about it, and then scratch in the margins like how you could apply this to your business. Or you just download it for your iPad or Kindle because it's available on Amazon as well. I'm not sure you can find it in bookstores. You might, but I just got the digital version and I just refer to it all the time. And it's all about talking about your business, how your business is an extension of you, how, it's not blogging about like, hey, guess what I had for breakfast today? Because seriously, stop doing that. It talks about like how to talk about your business. And I thought it was brilliant, hence blogging brilliantly. So I thought the title was perfectly apt for that. Lou, you had a question. No?
Yeah, because like in researching this, I get confused because we're like, you got to use like header tier and this, you can't use so many words, you got to use like this many words. Like,
yeah, they're also great. Your question is like, you have to follow certain format rules for Google to index those blog posts really well. Yes, absolutely. If you use something like WordPress, you can download a plugin called Yoast. It's toast with a Y. Okay, Yoast. I don't know why they called it Yoast, by the way. Kind of a weird name.
really.
Yoast. Okay, but anyway, it literally will score your pages and your blog posts as per Google's kind of what they think Google's desired criterias are. Like, it'll literally give you like a green light, orange light, red light. You don't have enough image tags. You don't have any images. You don't have any outbound links. You don't have enough text. Or it's just giving you greens. And when I see greens, I'm like, oh, I didn't suck at this one because I hate writing. Oh my God, I can't tell you how much I hate writing. I can stand in front of a group and yammer on all night, but the second you put a pen in my hand, I'm like, I got nothing. All right? So You know, that it's a great little plugin, and I don't think you can get that for things like Squarespace or Wix or anything like that. But it's a good tool to have.
As far as website going, is it better to, because I know with Squarespace and those kind of websites, they actually have their own hosting that you kind of link to.
Mm-hmm.
Is it better to have your own hosting?
The question is like Squarespace, Wix, they usually have their own hosting. Is it better to have your own hosting or use theirs? Doesn't really matter. If you're going to use one of those services, wherever you host the site, doesn't really matter that much. The only real benefit I can think of to having your own dedicated space is like if you wanted to use it like as an FTP server as well. Not that that really matters these days because we use WeTransfer. It's like FTP is almost as archaic as that like dial-up internet. Yeah.
With the thing that does that.
Yeah, the little spinny wheel that never ends. Well, it goes and like screeches at you. Yeah, so like some of the other things that your website should do, must do. One, it must be within, you hit that site within about 5 seconds, like just a quick scroll up and down that first page you hit. It should be blatantly obvious what you do as a photographer. And I'm talking blatantly, like if you went to provocateurs.ca, if you couldn't figure out I was a boudoir photographer in 5 seconds, something's wrong with you, not me. All right? Like it is abundantly clear that's what I do. If your site doesn't do that, if it's like very disjointed images and like you've got some landscapes over here and some people over here and some car stuff here and some, you know, like people are gonna be like, what do you do? Like what, like I get it, you take pictures, but what do you do? Like what's your specialty? Like I want your site to be blatantly obvious in what you do. And it should also show your style. Right? Like the images that you're showcasing should be the ones that would make your potential client want to book with you, not the other person. All right? Because they're that strong. And then most importantly, the last 2 points. Does your website funnel people to your booking page? First of all, if you have a menu across the top or down the side of your website, there should be a link directly on there that says booking. Not contact, booking. Like, look, change the word to whatever you want. But you need to, it's like, okay, so how, if somebody's ever going, so how do I get a hold of them or how do I book? And they have to search, you lose. Game over, start again, okay? So not only should your booking page be easy to find, but all of your other pages should shoot people to it. So when I make a blog post, at the very end, it says something to the effect of like, doesn't this sound awesome? Question mark. Wouldn't you love to do this yourself? Question mark. Book a session, button. And it shoots them right to the booking page. So they don't even have to go find it. They just have to look at that post and go, wow, this is awesome. Right off to the booking page. Other pages on the site will have links to the booking page. I'm constantly trying to get people to that page because that's what makes a lead. All right? Question back there.
Do you have a contact or is that through your booking?
The question is, do I have a contact page or is that through my booking? No, 2 separate pages. Okay. Contact page has the map, where's the studio, phone number, email address so that bots can collect it and then SEO companies can call me. Advertising services I don't ever want. But yeah, I have a contact page, but the booking page is more specific. It's just like, okay, and oh, look, it's here. On the screen, if you see it, it's got like a step 1, step 2, step 3. You probably can't read the text. Don't worry about that. Just say basically, step 1, send me an email. Step 2, I'll send you a client agreement. Step 3, pay the deposit. You're booked. And then right below that, there's a contact form that dynamically changes based on the criteria they enter. So I kind of ask them like, what kind of job are you looking for? Like what genre of boudoir photography? Is it is it just a regular boudoir session? Is it a maternity session? Is it a bridal thing? Like there's a few other options on there. There's a couples session. Like basically it just asks people what that is. And then based on that, it changes the fields below. So I get a more detailed response back to me rather than just, hey, I'm interested. with a phone number and an email address. Like, it gives me a little bit more to talk to them about.
So, you don't consult with the client at all? I mean,
Oh,
before-
the question is, do I consult the client? Yeah, this is the initial point of contact. This is like they're looking for somebody who does something like what I do, and then I'm funneling them to my booking page so that they'll send me a request for more information, and then I can either call them or I can email them back.
Because traditionally it's like, they contact me, I will try to book a consultation, and then you will book me.
Yeah, this is the idea, right? Like, I'm just trying to get that lead into my client management software.
Right.
This isn't a replacement for the consultation. That still happens later. Like, a consultation happens after you've got a lead that's interested.
But they booked you.
They're not booking. I'm just telling them these are the 3 steps
okay.
to booking. So the first one is, step 1, fill out this form. That's step 1. So, like, show me you're interested. You want more info? Fill out the form. That's basically all I've asked them to do. And then we can take it from there, and if they want to, book right on the spot, like on the spot in theory, like, then yes, they will, they'll send me the deposit, sign the client agreement, and then they are booked. But otherwise, there might be a consult step in between there.
Now, I remember last time you said you don't put your prices on your website.
No, I do not put my prices on the website. I put my package contents on the website, but I don't list prices. Mainly because I'm not the cheapest game in town, and I'd rather have somebody get one of my info guides, which I am about to talk about in about T-minus 45 to 60 seconds, and then we're gonna do that. But the last point I'm gonna make is, does it also prompt people to sign up for your e-newsletter list? This is leading me into that info guide thing that Lou really skillfully segued me to. So thank you. Thank you for coming out. I want emails. I want emails because an email suggests to me that people are interested in my service. If they'll sign up for that, probably means they may not book right now or in the next week or 2, but they're probably interested. So I do want to capture this. So I make people a trade. I say to you, if you give me your email, I'll send you a PDF info guide. Now, my info guide is depending on which one it is, because I have 5 different flavors for the different genres of boudoir photography I do. But my info guide will go through what to expect, what to wear, pricing, both a la carte and packages. Oh God, there's so much in there. Why hair and makeup's important. Don't worry, be happy is a page on there. Like, a lot of pictures, not a whole lot of text. Like, it's not like I'm giving them a book. It's just info. Like, I've been doing this long enough that I know what people ask, the common questions. So I put it in an info guide. So I basically say, if you give me your email, I'll send you an info guide. And then you can be signed up for my e-newsletter list. And they opt in for that. So that info guide is also very strategically designed to not only provide information, but to funnel people back to the booking page. Oh my God, did you know you can create a PDF with hyperlinks in it? Yes, good, you can. So yeah, you can basically put that PDF in there. So you'll see on this slide, you basically go from the site to the email, the first email anyway, and you get a PDF. So that's email 1. Thanks for inquiring. Here's the info guide. Look through it. If you have any questions, please call me. So there's a few things in that email. It's all pretty formatted. And this is what we call a drip campaign in MailChimp speak. MailChimp is just a platform that sends out emails. Some of you may have heard of it. Some of you may have heard of Mad Mimi. Some of you may have heard of Constant Contact. Yeah, there's a bunch of them. Do I know if you can do this in anything else other than MailChimp? No, because I only use MailChimp, so sorry. You'll have to check it out. You can? Good. All right, thank you. I presumed you could, but I mean, who knows? I don't want to say you can and you can't. So anyway, drip campaign. Without me even lifting this finger to click a mouse, people say, yeah, I'd like that info guide. Yeah, I'd like to be on your newsletter list. yeah, sure, boom, click. So it fires them the first email, goes like, hey, here's the info guide. Second email, a couple days later, which I've scheduled. It's automatic. There's no work on my part here. Second email is sent to that person with their name in it, like it's all dynamically filled in. And it goes like, hey, here's a testimonial from so-and-so. Then the next one is like, hey, what's holding you back? Then another one's like something else. And then there's a total of 5 or 6 of these things that go out to people. And it just prompts them each time. Go back to the site. Contact me. Fill out the booking form. It's really handy. And I don't have to do anything other than the setup. Chong.
Your emails you collect from the newsletter, MailChimp picks them up, or do you have to input them?
Nope. It all that, the question is, does MailChimp pick up the email address or do I have to manually input it? No. Basically, they fill out a MailChimp form on my site and choose the genre of boudoir photography they want, and then it sends them an info guide corresponding to that and then puts them in that appropriate drip campaign.
So your info guide is on MailChimp, not on your website?
It's a PDF that just lives, it's just, MailChimp, the URL just links to a spot on my web server.
Okay.
So it's just a link to a PDF on a web server.
I'm just asking for the so then it's like, okay, from the site, MailChimp is the form you're using on your site. It collects the email. Once they fill it in, they get the first email with your info guide, which is automatically linked up through MailChimp.
Yeah, it's like it's all automatic. So I mean, it's this perfect little cycle with just easy. No work on my part except the setup, which took me a while to figure out. I will not lie.
Does MailChimp have a plugin on WordPress? Is that how you do it, or?
The question is, does MailChimp have a WordPress plugin? Yes, it has a WordPress plugin for you to get opt-ins. This is just, you design a form on the MailChimp app, and then you just, like, it just like once people fill that form in and hit submit, it's a MailChimp form, so it doesn't actually need a plugin. It's really clean and slick, and you just embed the form on a page, and it looks like it's part of your website, but it's actually a MailChimp form.
How often do you send that email? Will you be caught like a spammer?
No. The question is, won't I be caught like a spammer? No, because they opted in. I play by all the rules, don't worry. Yes.
What's your unsubscribe rate like with this?
You know what? What's my unsubscribe rate is actually a really good question. Most people don't end up unsubscribing. I mean, most of the people who were interested were kind of interested, and once they get the 5th or 6th email, it just kind of takes them out of this drip campaign and just puts them into the general populace, if you want to call it that, of all the subscribers I have. And but only, I would say maybe 5 or 10% of them actually unsubscribe midstream through that. Most of them receive all 5 or 6 emails. So it might depend how they're written. They're not too salesy. They're just they're literally like just trying to engage the person, and it's written in a very personable way. And I do check the stats on this, and I do find the engagement does drop off from the first to the last email, but the last email still does have engagement. Believe it or not, it's still like 30 or 40% of the people are interacting with that last email that comes with it. Not just to delete it, but just that they've clicked it and clicked a link.
Do you also run any Google Analytics and stuff like that, or?
Do I run any Google Analytics on MailChimp? No, like
No, on your website.
on my website, yes. Google Analytics is my rabbit hole. Like, you just go down it. Because I have a plugin for WordPress which shows my some basic Google Analytics, and I go, that doesn't look right. I should go to the Google Analytics site. I should be working, but let me go over there. And then it's just like, and I make myself crazy. Like luckily I pared back from doing the Google Analytics major research, but I use Google Analytics in different ways to figure out who the demographics of my site are. What's their age range? Does it match what my ideal customer is? Like if my site traffic, first of all, was like all from Russia, might be bots. And in which case, all those page views from today were irrelevant. right? I've also filtered all those off in Google Analytics, incidentally. But also, you know, like with analytics, I want to match up, like my ideal customer should be between 25 and 45 and be female. Like if the Google Analytics is saying, well, your average age range is 45 to 60 and they're all male, something's not right. So like for me, it's a little easier to maybe target that, whereas some other photo businesses, it might not be as simple. But yeah, do I use Google Analytics? Yeah, absolutely. Total tangenty topic, like I filled a whole presentation last summer on it. All right, like that's a beast. So I'm going to breeze through this email part because I did kind of talk about it, but ultimately I think this, for me, has been the best tool that I have to market with. Now it takes a long time to grow that list. It does. Like, you know, and the great thing, or the way I look at emails is, these are people who most likely are interested in your service. They signed up for your newsletter, right? They didn't do that because they're just like, I sign up for every newsletter. No, this is kind of the thing that people really have to opt into. Like they gotta be committed to the product you offer. So I think these are the best possible source of leads in a pool that I can get. It's kind of like a really overpopulated fish pond, right? That's really small. And you throw your line in and you're probably gonna catch something. Versus, you know, trying to run a Facebook ad, which is like the ocean and you're throwing a line over the, you know, into the ocean, right? Like these are all customers that I see as very, very likely to align with what I do and very likely to be interested in my service. And this email that goes out today might not work for customer XYZ because they aren't interested in the service yet, but they are interested in the service at some point down the road. Think of it like a wedding. If you're not getting married for, say, 2 years, you might start looking at a bunch of photographers and then they'll start sending out some emails to you. And you know, when you find the right one, you're like, oh, okay. And then they're just doing is they're just sitting there waiting for that little push, waiting for that little something to maybe drive the booking. Like it might be timing based for them. It might be a sale or promotion that you offer. Like you say, hey, anybody who books a session for April's Out in the Dandelion Field kids session gets a $50 print credit. I don't know. Could be any kind of promo, really. But, you know, leverage your email list. I wouldn't be sending people an email a day. Not like most of the retailers out there that have just now adopted that philosophy that, like, every day you have to get an email from us. And, you know, okay, sometime. But, you know, I still open them. You know, I'm always looking for new props and tchotchkes and weird stuff for the studio. And if I'm not finding them on Kijiji, I might find them on other websites, and I subscribe to that. And if nothing appeals to me, nope, delete. And people will be doing that with my emails as well. If nothing really appeals to them, okay, delete. Don't always make it about sales, though. Make it about, hey, here's a great tip if you're looking to buy your next pair of shoes, and you know if they'd be good for a boudoir session. Like maybe it's a link back to a blog post. You know, go past just sales. Help them. Right? Do something more with them. There's more to it than what you might think. But make sure you leverage it often. Don't forget that it's there. And then this. Oh God, social media. Oh, social media can be so much fun when people aren't posting pictures of their cats or breakfast. Yeah, sushi, yes. So, the reason I say social media and the reason I bring it up is because it is a free service. Oh, by the way, I should back up 1 second because things like email, it can be a free service up until you get to a certain number of people and then they might start charging you. But also things like those drip campaigns or automations, as MailChimp calls them, those are paid features. Cost me about 15 to 20 bucks a month to run those. But just FYI, that is a paid thing. Oh, MailChimp went free with automations. I'm going to have to go look into that. So, apparently. But yeah, like, so that's it can be free. It's got potentially as a cost, right? Social media, for the most part, free. I'm going to talk about online ads later, but social media, here's how I think you should be using social media. One, it's to stay relevant and top of mind. Like whenever people visit me at a trade show or some new client contact kind of thing, like one of my drip mail email things also has follow us on Instagram. You know, like it's like it just basically, it keeps you fresh in their mind. Because if somebody sees me at a trade show, like I did some wedding trade shows, early like January and I think one in April. And, you know, my favorite thing was, and what I wasn't really expecting, I'm like, oh, when are you getting married? Thinking, oh yeah, it'll be, you know, in 4-6 months later this summer. Oh, it'll be July 2019. You know, like, really? Okay. But that's the way weddings are planned now. Weddings are a part-time job if you're going to plan them yourself. And they take 2 years to plan. Nobody just goes, oh, yes, I'd love to marry you. And then you get married in 6 months. That doesn't happen anymore because you got to book a venue like 2 years in advance, it seems. So, you know, like I wanted to, but if people came to my trade show booth and they didn't follow me on Instagram, you know, 6 months before their wedding, which is a year and a half in the future potentially, they're gonna be like, now what was the name of that business? There's no way I have that business card unless I'm a very organized pack rat. And yeah, okay, I'll just do a web search and they might find my competition. But if they're following me on social media, they're constantly seeing me. So I stay fresh in their mind, all right? That's what I'm talking about with why social media is great. And social media, you know, I'm not big on, you know, the bragging aspect myself, like, hey, today I had 4 customers in here. I try to keep it like, I try to apply those philosophies of the blogging brilliantly thing, where I talk more about just like, hey, check out this picture sometimes, and other times it's like, Miss so-and-so came in, she was just awesome. I'm talking more about her. Or I could just do a Tushy Tuesday post. I don't know. You know, like it could be anything. But you want to also sometimes throw in a post and just be like, hey, you know what, we've only got a few spaces left for April. If you're interested in coming in, there's only 2 left. Contact me. Drop those in every now and again. Shouldn't be every post. But, you know, 1 in 10, 1 in 20, just like, hey, follow us on other social channels. Hey, you know what, we're booking sessions now for July, or any of those things. Like, slide those in too. And of course, show people what they want to see. You know, people love behind the scenes stuff. You know, if you can manage to get that kind of thing, it's fantastic. I mean, I've seen people run around with like GoPros on, like on a chest harness sometimes, and it'll just snap pictures, and it'll give them like little behind the scenes content to post. Sometimes they just put a camera up with like an intervalometer, and sometimes, like if it's in a studio and the you know, like it might just be a behind the scenes that way. Like it could be that, it could be, you know, just literally, like I snap pictures of people's wardrobes on the couch or the bed all the time and just be like, hey, check it out, this is what Miss S is wearing. Have her pictures up soon. You know, like there's lots of ways to do that. It could be if you're a wedding photographer, like, hey, you know, just shot this great series for so-and-so for bride and groom, tag, and, you know, here's their sneak peek from their wedding earlier today. Like, don't ever underestimate the power of a sneak peek. Like, the sooner you can deliver at least one finished image, the faster people can like it and then get you some traction. And of course, you can automate social media. Things like Hootsuite is a great little app. I'm sure there are others. I only use Hootsuite. But basically, I can schedule Instagram posts, which is basically everything kind of runs through Instagram. So like when I'm doing like pretty picture posts, like, I mean, I've got my blog, that's a separate beast. It can be scheduled too, and it always is. I don't just, because I wrote a post at 1 a.m. doesn't mean it's posting at 1 a.m. It's gonna be scheduled for the right time, especially if it's promo based and stuff. But Instagram kind of has all the pretty pictures, like it's the pretty picture feed. And when I schedule it on Hootsuite, sends my phone a notification. It goes, hey, you got to do something now, and you got to post this to social. You got to post this to Instagram. So I got to go open the app, copy, paste. It's automated in the sense that the post is written. All I have to do is tag and then hit up we go. Way faster than trying to do it like whenever I feel like it. All right, so I try to send out 3 Instagram posts a day. It's automatically shot over to Facebook through just the little swipey yes post to Facebook thing that Instagram has. But for Twitter, I do something different because Twitter, if you use the little swipey thing on Instagram, it just puts a text link, which really doesn't look very good. So what you do is you use a web service called If This Then That, or ifttt.com. IFTTT. Yeah, if and 3 T's.
If this, then that.
If this, then that. Yes. So it is a fantastic little tool, and you can build these little like modules that do stuff. So, for example, when I post onto my blog, I'd love it if that went over to Facebook at the same time without me even having to lift this finger. So that's what it does. It ties into my WordPress site, and then it goes, oh, new post. Shoot it over to Facebook. Shoot it over to Twitter. Shoot it over to Pinterest. Okay? All automated. So you can automate social media. All right? So you can make your life really easy. And when you do the if this then that thing with Instagram and to Twitter, it actually puts a pretty picture in instead of a hyperlink. So, and they have a zillion different modules that you can use. 98% of them will have 0 relevance to you, but they are there. So, yeah. I mean, I think you got to use social media. If you're like, oh, I hate using this, get over it. You got to use it. This is how you stay relevant to people.
Which particular platform of social media do you find most useful or relevant?
Which platform do I find most relevant? I'll tell you the one I find the least relevant, Facebook. I have a Facebook hate. Yeah, Instagram's probably my primary. I receive more inquiries and lead clicks over to the website through Instagram than any other platform. And yeah, I find that to be one of the best tools out there, because Facebook, I think all of us know, if you're not paying, they're not showing it to people. Like if you got a business page, it almost doesn't matter. You could have 10,000 followers, 50 people seem to see that post. All right?
Do you think because you shoot boudoir, and as we know, Facebook has a high
It's no. It's not. Like the question is it because I'm censored due to Facebook? No, it's not that. What it is it's just like the nature of Facebook has gone. Like for them to be a profitable company, they have to sell ads. Right? They got to sell you advertising. So that's why, rewind 5 years ago, your business page had 10,000 followers. You made a post that eventually made it to most of them. Now it makes it to like 3-4, I think, % of your overall followers might see that, unless they have favorited your page and asked for your stuff to show up on their timeline, which is a whole different series that isn't exactly easy to do. And I mean, if you can get people to do that for your Facebook page, you'll get more traction. I just find Facebook's not the best one. Instagram by far is the best tool I've got out there. Things like Pinterest are fantastic for image searches. When you get those really great images and you kind of put them in a collage and you're like 5 best venues in Toronto outdoors for engagement photos, like those things get hits in Pinterest. So there it's a great search tool for that. As far as video services go, yeah, if you have behind the scenes videos or things like that, they're always great. And you can link them and keep recycling those over and over again, which is also really great.
Tags. Tags on the images that you post or blogs.
Tags.
Most of these social medias require tags or hashtags or stuff like that.
Yes, okay, so the question is like all these social media sites require hashtags and things like that. Yes, I absolutely tag the crap out of all the Instagram posts. And if you are, I'm going to gloss over this real fast, but oh my God, this is a great tip. If you have, and I can only speak to iOS devices, if you have an iOS device and you have a set series of hashtags you use very frequently for a certain genre of photo, you can put that in as a keyboard autocorrect in your settings. I know, right? And if you have a Mac computer, when you put it in your phone or you put it in your computer or vice versa, it just figures it out. And then all I have to do is just type IG and I start typing boudoir and it goes autocomplete and there's like 20 hashtags right there. Really? Yeah. I know, it's amazing. I'm not going to claim I invented that. I saw that on a post on F-Stoppers and it was brilliant. I wish I could credit the guy who did it, who did the original video on it, but I was just like, boom. So anyway, I'm sure there's a way to do it with an Android device. But now, because I schedule all my Instagram posts through Hootsuite, it's just a keyboard shortcut. I just go blip, 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 boop. I just type the initial wordage, and then boop, hashtags in, schedule. Like it's quick and easy for me that way. So yeah, that's social media. I want to keep moving along though. This is one that I'm hoping, truly, like referrals are the best thing ever. Like, if you were ever to get a lead, I know I said emails were the best. Referrals are truly the most insanely ingenious idea ever. Because if you get a referral from somebody, that's almost a guaranteed booking, right? I would say so. Because they all know what's going on. Now, what I would like to do is make note that you need to reward your referral people. You have to make a reason for somebody to want to refer you to somebody else. And for my business, because I have trouble advertising due to prudish nudity laws, this works really good for me, like really good. I try to get, here, let me show you. This is my referral program. This is like a really crude diagram, but it works so good. And you can change numbers to whatever you want. I just used $100 as an example. So original customer shoots with me, and they refer customer one, and let's say they refer customer one. Well, they're going to, I just realized I'm missing a 100 there. They basically refer customer one, original customer gets $100 towards finished product upgrades. Not $100 off their session, okay? It's on extras. Because where is your margin going to be made? On your upgrades, thank you. So you offer them $100 on something that cost you $5, didn't give away a whole lot of money, okay? So original customer refers the other customer, and it's like, they'll get $100 off the finished product upgrades, but the person they referred also gets that deal. So that's win-win. And customer two, because if the original customer referred somebody, the customer number two is going to get $100 off their upgrades, and then the original customer gets another $100 right there. I'm not mixing on 100, by the way. I was totally cool. So original customer got $200 off finished product upgrades. And most people, for me anyway, $200, like if that was the number I was choosing, that's like 10 extra pages in a book. All right? Well, that's actually not even completely that, because usually that's about $325 or around $250 depending on the book. So, like, that's a sweet deal. It's win-win. And then you should notice customer 1A. Customer 1A also gets $100 and gets customer 1 $100 too. Like it cascades through. So if you have multiple people, it just works. Question online.
What if original customer has already completed their order with you and refers somebody?
So question is, what if customer 1 has already completed their order and then refers somebody? I didn't. You like preempted my caveat to this, sort of. Now. The catch is with my referral program is the other person must book a session within 60 days of their session. Not have their session, put down a deposit for a session. Big difference, right? So within 60 days, if you get another person to commit by payment and signing my client agreement, to a session that could happen a year from now, you will get that little bonus thing, if you want to call it that. Now, to the question Jen had is, what happens, like how do you refund somebody, or what do you do if somebody's already paid for their order in that 60 days? That's fine. I just send them a $100 credit, provided they did buy some finished product upgrades. Or I offer it as a credit if they bought nothing, right? But they've probably bought some upgrades. When I sell a book, they start at 20 pages. Nobody gets a 20-page book. Smallest book they're going to get most likely is a 40-page book. So they've done some upgrades, okay? So usually if I have to e-transfer somebody $100 back, not a problem. I'm more than happy to do it, provided that person they referred, like, booked within the 60-day window. And it's cumulative for that. Like if they refer 2 friends, they'll get $200. They refer 3 friends, $300, right? Like it's a great little program. And as long as you're not taking it off your package price or your a la carte price, if it's off of upgrades, you'll be doing okay money-wise.
That was my next question, was the upgrades, are they part of the a la carte or are they part of the package? Like,
The question is, are my upgrades part of the package or a la carte? They're a la carte. They're upgrades.
okay.
Right? So they're separate items. So if the package itself was $1,000, they may spend $500-600 in upgrades, in extra stuff. Could be extra pages for the book, could be prints, could be wall art, could be anything. It's anything in addition to the package.
And the referrals are all booked within 60 days?
Yes. So it's, yeah, just be careful the verbiage. It's not, it's the, they've committed, booked isn't necessarily the best word, they've committed by deposit and client agreement within the 60 days. Their session does not have to happen in those 60 days, because originally I had verbiage that said, it made it sound like you had to have your session within that, and some people aren't ready to do that. So it's just, I had to change my wording a little bit. But that's how you do a referral program. I would much rather give $200 away to person A and B, for the original person and then the next person, rather than giving $100 to some online ad or something else. Because that $100 is a guaranteed booking, right? Like that can't be any better than that. And it works really well for me. So that's a referral program. I'm actually not going to do a break. We're going to go on to partners because I want to keep moving here. Partner program is another little thing that I do to kind of like help me generate some leads. Because wouldn't it be awesome if you had another business that aligned with you that could help send people to you, but then you could also help them? That's what my business partner program is all about. The main thing is it's got to be win-win. It cannot be all about you. I think my partner program, in essence, at the face value when they look at it, they're like, wow, what's in it for you? Like it seems like it's only them based. Because here's what I do. I walk into a store, and this store, let's use the example of a lingerie boutique, right? Like not big corporate La Senza, Victoria's Secret thing, like independent business. You're not going to have any luck with corporations with this, because then they got to go through their manager, through their regional manager, through their main marketing person, through the president, through the shareholder. Like you'll never make that work. But an independent business where the person's like literally standing in front of you who makes the decision is like more likely to do that. Now, internet land, you're not going to be able to see this tremendously well, but I'm going to explain what this little box I'm holding is. This is a proof box that GTA Imaging sells. I have my logo embossed on here in silver. So sorry, interwebs. It looks awesome. Anyway. This cost me, the box cost me between $5 and $10, depending on the quantity I do, right? But it looks like super professional. And I've handed this is part of the info guide, because inside I've got a couple things. First thing I got, this is an about me book for that business. It's generic, because I'm going to have an auxiliary piece of paper explaining my partner program for the business. So it'll be in there. But this is just an info guide. So it's like a little bit about me, there's a little thing like what exactly is boudoir. It's got a few little words and kind of a little word map there. Mostly pictures, by the way. My amazing studio. What else have I got in here? How can we work together? Testimonial, and then my contact info on the back. So it's just like it's a very pictorial, easy to get through guide that sits in that proof box. And then I also have the little counter card that I'd like to leave with them that people can take. Once again, GTA prints these. I can get all this done here. They printed that book for me. So there's this. And
Are those the pearl ice finish on those?
this one is, yes. But then also, forgot to mention, on the back of this postcard, there's a little thing down here on the bottom. It says, P.S. We've also got a way for you to save $100 on a session, and it points them to a landing page, provocateur images / ways to save. Now, this little thing, when they go to that ways to save, we'll find out at that partner store, if they spend $100 with that partner store, they'll give them one of these, which is like a little trifold. It says, be daring, be provocative, be you, which is like kind of like my little tagline. And then it says, here, this entitles you to $100 off some finished product upgrades. Okay? Now, they can actually stack the finished product upgrade, the referral program with my partner program. I do allow them to do that. The referral program is the only thing that ever gets combined. If there's another discount on the product, this would not apply. But I basically have a little spot in here. I write down the name of the retailer, and they bring this in. They must bring this into their session in order to get that deal. And this works because my partner stores love it. Because I basically, when they book, send them an email, automated through the customer client management software, saying, hey, you know what? Thanks for booking. This is the day after they book. Just FYI, we've got these great partner stores. If you go into them, you can save $100 on your finished product upgrades if you buy $100 of lingerie with them. And what it means is basically I'm giving people $100 to bring in new lingerie, better lingerie, stuff they feel super attractive in, so the session goes better for me. So it really works. Now, that's me. Can we do this with kids for a second? Let's say you did this with a kid's clothing store, because parents want to take pictures of their kids, right? But the kids, you don't want them like the homeless look, right? So, you might take them to this little independent retailer. The independent retailer loves this idea because, holy crap, like, wow, they're sending me people, and that's a great thing. So people will spend money there and get introduced to that business. But also, that business can also help promote you because they're leaving these things out on the counter. Like if you design some postcards or some trifold or something fancy, they can stuff them in bags. Like they can become part of your marketing engine. And because it's all symbiotic, nobody has a problem doing this. So it is really critical you find a great partner store that aligns really well with you. Now, if you're a wedding photographer, maybe this is a little different program because maybe you're approaching wedding planners. Maybe not the big wedding planners, maybe the small ones when you first get started, right? Because you're going to be like, well, if you send me clients, then I can just give you a referral bonus. And you could get, like the planner could literally give them this thing and say, this is worth $100 if you book with this person, right? And then, the wedding planner gets, say, $50 of that. I'm just picking round numbers here, by the way. Like these numbers are not something you have to go by all the time. But you could use these things like coupons and have people referring you people. And if they're referring you, they're not necessarily a guaranteed booking like perhaps a word of mouth referral, but this is a really strong lead, right? Because it's all about getting the leads. Now you had a question in the back.
Your promo package, you have one of those coupons, I'm going to call it a coupon. But if they accept, that's when you give them the stack.
Yeah, the question is, like, I've got one thing here in the box, like one promo coupon-y thing and one business card and one info guide. Yes, I will have just one of those for what I give them, but yeah, when they sign on, I give them a whole stack of these things. And then I have to go back into the store and I have to figure out like, you know, hey, how's it going? Maybe I could offer you a free session for you to raffle off through your social media. And then they advertise you through their social media channels, giving you extra credibility. Just figure it out, guys. This is something I do with the mentoring program a lot. Like we really explore this and brainstorm ideas of ways that we can make it work with your photo business. So, but ultimately it's got to be win-win for both businesses. If this is all about you, forget it. I've had partners say like, oh man, I had another photographer come in here and offer something, and it was like, didn't make any sense because it was all about them. They want me to run a contest for them. Why would I do that? You know, like that's what it's all about. It's symbiotic relationships. So let's talk a little bit about online ads. Look, they're always paid. This is always something you're going to have to pay for. But the good news is with online ads, they're great for, they're so fantastic for awareness because you can just, you know, it could be an awareness to a promo you're offering. It might be awareness for that you simply exist. You know, like it could be so many things. And with the way online ads work, I mean, you've got options to do this through Google and Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest and Instagram as well. Instagram and Facebook, obviously, same parent companies, so they kind of tie together. But you know, like you've basically got this tool to expand your reach, because you know you're used to dealing with your email pool, say, or your followers on Instagram, or something like maybe your partner stores. If you want to get outside that sphere and go bigger, that's where you need this kind of electronic marketing. In the old days, we used to just run print ads, and I would run for the hills. If somebody says, would you like to advertise in my magazine? Just run away. Seriously, just run away. Don't even entertain the idea. Here's why I hate print ads. And look, sometimes they may work. But print ads, the problem I have with them is there is almost zero trackability. Yes, you can put a URL for people to go to on a print ad, but like Magazine X says, we have a circulation of like, you know, I don't know, 500,000 people. But, you know, like when you do this print ad and you get it back, it's like, well, 5 people hit that site. That wasn't a very good return on investment. You can't track it. You can't see how many people actually really went other than just your site metrics. You don't know how many people clicked on it or anything like that. At least with and also, before I get to online ads, with a print ad, you don't know where it went. It's Southern Ontario. Like, how could you be more vague, right? And remember that most magazines printed get recycled without ever being looked at. So if somebody gives you a stat saying our circulation is like some stupid number, you're like, wow, that's amazing. Just take 10% of that number as probably readers. I used to work for a company, distribution company, shall remain nameless, has a photo magazine. You might find it here. They basically hand out this magazine for free everywhere. It's just it's a marketing arm for them. And it's a load of nonsense. And they will charge people to advertise in it. And there were skids of these magazines in their warehouse that never ended up going out, right? Like, just don't. It's not going to get you anywhere. If somebody comes to you like, hey, we'll publish your image in a magazine for free, no. It'll give you a great exposure. Yeah, to other photographers. Are other photographers booking you? It depends on the magazine, obviously, but just be realistic with print ads. At least online ads, you can target them very specifically. You can say, I only want to appeal to men between the ages of blah and the ages of blah, and then I want them to live here, and I want them to like dogs, and I want them to, their favorite color's purple, and you can get so granular with who you're promoting this to that it really can define a very specific audience. And remember, 2 weeks ago, what did we do? We talked about who your customer is. If you know who your customer is and you know how to talk to them, these things will work. They will cost you some money, and I'll give you a little Facebook tip. if you have a limited budget and you want to run an ad, like let's say you have like a budget of $100. Well, Facebook won't entertain that idea of $100. But if you say your budget is, say, $200 to Facebook, and then you stop your ad when you get to $100, you can still do it. It's a little hack that you can use. So you don't necessarily have to pay the full $200. Okay, so if you have a limited budget, that's the way around it. I think 200 is about Facebook's threshold. No?
Oh, no, I've done $100 easily.
Yeah, so like it depends on sometimes the regions and how they set it up and how specific you are too. If you're very specific, the number goes up because they have to be more. They have to be more
Are
targeted.
you
So
saying that Facebook will let you spend 200?
sometimes it will say like you have to spend more because it depends on your duration of the ad, depends on how specific you are with the ad. There's a few little criteria that dictate what the minimum price is. But I usually tend to be very specific with these things, so that's why I'm usually seeing $200 as my minimum. Maybe they just hear me talking and like they're blacklisting me. I don't know. But ultimately, you can kind of work a little hack that way. So you can kind of stop the ad early if you don't want to spend the whole amount. And also, it really helps when you're designing online ads to have multiple variations of the same ad. Different pictures, different verbiage, different things, and you game them against each other. If you find that ad B is doing better than A and C combined, stop ad A and stop ad C and only show ad B. Okay, so you gotta monitor these ads. They can't just be like, click, done, I'm going away. You know, like you gotta look at them after things have happened. You can't just let them run indefinitely. Sometimes you gotta leave them for a day or two, but look at them, but do variations of the same ad in the same ad group. That way, at least you can figure out which one's working and which one is not. Now, trade shows. There are, depending on your genre of photography, trade shows will either work or not work. You got to find a trade show that's obviously the most logical for you. Because sometimes the one that is most logical might not actually be the best fit. Sometimes other stuff will be the best fit. You just got to figure out which one works best. Yep.
At what point would you do trade shows? Like, would you do it when you're established or trying to become established?
The question is, when would you do trade shows? Are you established or not established? I did trade shows when I was unestablished. I've done trade shows when I'm established. My first trade shows, and listen, I've done a lot of trade shows in my past life, and I thought I would know all about how to do this. Not as much as I thought. Not on my own anyway. I also didn't pick shows that really worked for me in retrospect, but they did teach me an important lesson when I did them. But I think the main thing with trade shows is that you have to, there's like the really big expensive ones, and then there's the really inexpensive ones. There are all sorts of little itty bitty community type trade shows all over the city of Toronto. And I'm sure all over any city, anywhere. You can go and sniff them out. The last one I did was in Mississauga. It was I think it was the Ultimate Bridal Show. I walked in, they had a little 4x8 table. I threw a backdrop over it for a tablecloth, put a little flower over here, a little flower thing over here, threw my portfolios down, opened up a little banner stand thing, done. And I stood there, and it was a pretty good show. It cost me like $300. Okay? And I thought, you know what, this is not bad. I had some pretty good conversations with people, generated a few leads. And by the way, while I was there, this little thing, also known as an iPad, had a MailChimp subscription app running so that it would collect names for a draw to win a free session. And it would get them onto my e-newsletter list. I ended up with about 65 names at a very small 6-hour trade show. And it worked phenomenally well. I was really happy with the results. I also did this trade show, which was the National Bridal Show at the X in January. And it was a 3-day marathon of standing around and like, oh my God, the air is so dry in here. I need to pee. Thank goodness I had reinforcements. But I built a trade show booth. Like that trade show booth actually has been recycled into my studio as a shooting wall. So it's not like it went unnoticed. But laid a fake floor, which I bought at Habitat, at the Restore for $90 with all that, for all that floor, and it just snaps together. I'm reasonably handy, by the way. I can basically not hit my hands with a hammer anymore, so I'm pretty good to go. And I still have all my digits, so I can use a saw pretty well. But brought a bunch of furniture in, put all the wall art that I of course get here on the wall, and we had a grand old time. I also worked it so that with the show they do this thing called a passport or like whatever. It's like a scavenger hunt. Like basically you have to go to a few select booths and talk to them and get like their little stamp checked, and I offered up a prize, which was like a mega ass, like crazy prize. It was like worth like $3,000 at a la carte prices. Cost me about $650, $700, but you know, somebody did end up winning it. But I got about 325 signups from that. Right? So people had to come by my booth. I wasn't even in the greatest location, but people had to come by my booth. That was the key part, because you can imagine doing what I do. People walk by and they're like, oh, okay, interesting. What's that, Mom? You know? I was mom blocked a few times, but they had to come in and talk to me, found out I wasn't a weirdo, you know, and like, they were like, oh my God, this is actually pretty cool. Mom, go over that way. You know, like, you know, sometimes the mom would actually be dragging the daughter over, which was even better. She's like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing. Come over here, check this out. And I'm like, yes, Mom, yeah. But trade shows are an exercise in brand awareness. I'll get to the question in just a second. Brand awareness, like, look, I told you, most people are, they're basically not booking, nobody booked a session right there on the spot. If you go to a trade show and expect to have somebody book, stop. Just get that out of your head. It won't happen. What you're going to need to do is you need to collect leads, which are those emails. Then you email people after. And basically they got my a variant of my drip campaign once they signed up for the e-newsletter or email at the show. Right? So I said, thanks for hitting the booth. Here's my info guide, blah, blah, blah. Here's a bunch of other stuff. And another one's like testimonial, and then like it just got people interested. And I did end up booking about 5 or 6 sessions out of this show so far. So there might be more, because some people were saying they're not getting married for another 2 years. But it's an exercise in brand awareness. That's what it was there for. It's not to book leads right there. If you go to a show and you expect you're going to make back your money right there at the show, those days are gone. People will shop you. People will think about it. People will not be ready to buy right now. Like, there's any number of things. So you got to look at it as just like, I'm getting my name out there. And should you do it when you're small or big? I'd say you start doing it now, because it's a great way to grow your email list. Okay? So don't discount trade shows. If you're small, don't do the big ones. In fact, I'm going to say with a bit of apprehension in saying this, I'm probably not going to do the big shows again. I would rather go to 10 little shows for $300 rather than spend $3,000 on one big show, if that makes sense, right? I think I get better spread in different pockets of the city with different people rather than the one big show. Like this National Bridal Show was great for me, but it drew people from like places they're not gonna come drive to see me from Ottawa, probably. I mean, I got a lot of out-of-town clients, but it's unlikely. So I just kind of look at it as like, I'd rather do the small local shows.
Talking about location, right? Are you, in your goal, is your goal to do like Toronto? Because I'm not in Toronto.
Yeah.
I would be, but my goal is to be in Toronto.
Right. So the question is like, where's my geographic location for where I do these shows in essence? Because you said you're in Whitby. For me, it makes sense to do a show anywhere in Toronto, basically, Toronto proper. If you're in Whitby and that's where your market is going to be, then you should be doing these. There's going to be a whole bunch of these little shows, even in Whitby. I'm sure they exist. They're going to be like outdoors in the park. They could be like art. They could be art fairs. I don't know. Like if you're a landscape photographer, those little outdoor art fairs, I've been very seriously contemplating doing that because I have this amazing collection of travel photos that have never seen the light of day. It's like on a hard drive, and it's the equivalent of like a box of negatives. Nobody's ever seen them. I've barely printed any of them. You know, like and if I went to these little outdoor things, it would be perfect for that. So that's trade shows. So let's review. I want to hear from not only online, but I also want to hear from you guys in the room. What are you going to go home, and what is your first project for marketing going to be? Funnel on the website, right?
My website, funnel.
Okay.
Get that 5-second, I know what he does.
Okay, so you're going to do a whole site review.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Because it's the funnel, that was the answer for that. What else? What else you guys going to do? What's another one of those projects?
The blog,
The blog.
once a week at least.
Once a week.
Force myself.
Yeah, you got to force yourself.
I-
You know what you got to do? You got to break out your phone and you have a little notepad going and you're like, oh, that'd be a good idea for a blog. And I get them in the weirdest places. Like I'll be out shopping and be like, that's kind of cool. I like that. Oh, that's a good idea. I'm going to do that. And then I just jot it down. I do it all the time. I'm the king of scatterbrained and, write it down. And I may not get to it this week. I may not get to it next week. But eventually I'm going to sit down and I'm going to punch out about 4 blog posts. And I always try to have about a month scheduled in advance. And it's not hard to do, but you want to target about 300 words, a few pictures, good headings, all that kind of stuff. What do we got online? What is their project?
So I wanted to say mine's going to be starting a drip campaign.
Oh, so Jen's starting a drip campaign.
Yeah.
Yay!
Joe says,
Joe.
to clarify his website within the month and then begin blogging again. Use social media to bring traffic back to his website.
Slow down. Let me start repeating some of what Joe said. Sounds like Joe is like serious. No, Joe's got a project here. So he's gonna get on his website, like do a site review. What else is he gonna do? He's gonna blog more. And what else did he say?
Social media.
Use social media. Yes. That's another. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit here, really. Like if you figure it, if you get in the habit, and especially if you schedule things like social media, go to hootsuite.com. Just get an account. Tie your social media accounts to it, like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. What else do they do? There's probably something I'm forgetting, but what's that?
Do they do Pinterest?
I don't think they do Pinterest. I've never used it for Pinterest, but I mean, most of the time I'm just Instagram, Facebook. Well, I just schedule Instagram through that. But just schedule a bunch of stuff. Sit down, just get it out there. Your Instagram posts don't need to be 300 words long. They just need to show pictures that your clients are gonna love. I don't know whether you're gonna do collages or fancy stuff and then drop in the odd, like go to the site, book a session, book this kind of stuff, but like get out there, start scheduling is my point. Blog posts, schedule, Instagram, schedule, Facebook, schedule. Do it all in one chunk. Don't try to, if you're trying to eat this elephant, which is social media, you've got to do it in bites. And the easiest way to bite it is to just schedule those bites to happen. If you can, like I basically do every Tuesday morning for me, the morning from about 8:30 till about 11:30, it's just social media scheduling and blog writing. Occasionally blog writing doesn't get done because I'm not feeling very wordy, but it gets, like at least the scheduling part gets done. All right, got some more?
Stuff. Okay, so Victoria said that she wants to start a drip campaign.
Victoria's gonna start dripping.
Yep, and a partner program.
And a partner program, yay!
Catherine said she wants to have a little free giveaway, such as a meal planner, like a meal planner download.
Oh, cool, yeah, like so she's gonna set up a meal planner, like just,
Yeah, so for the moms
like-
to help.
yep,
Something to get people to sign up, right?
yeah, just an info guide.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I love those info guides. Trust me, they work.
Brent said he's going to begin blogging and be more active on social media. And this one I like. Laura says
Yes, stop restricting digital file giveaway. Oh my God, thank you. Oh, yes. If you are going to include digital files with a package, which I do, please make sure that it's not everything. Maybe it's everything in the book, but make sure it's a low-res version. Don't give them the ability to go somewhere else and make big prints, okay? That is a bad idea. People with me get a maximum of 6 megapixels. It's great for stuff like this and their computer screen or emailing around or something like that. They can make up to an 8 by 10. When you are giving away a digital file or selling a digital file, you're not selling the file, you're selling the print license or the license for use. That's what you are selling, not the file. So because of that, if you give them a low-res file, you can give them an option to get the high-res file. But believe me, don't go that route with me, because that's going to be bloody expensive. Because if I lose the ability to make really big prints for you, that will cost you money. Okay?
72 dots per inch, what by what?
6 megapixels according to a Lightroom export. I don't know what the resolution would be. It could be 3,000 by 2,000. Is that 6 megapixels? No, it's more.
No, it's more.
Yeah, it's 6 megapixels.
Okay.
Lightroom just says export based files, file thing would be like 6 megapixels. So I just go 6 megapixels, done. Okay. All right. And they're also compressed a little bit more, so they're not the best quality. All right. They're great for, as I said, iPads.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. Live people
I know
first.
it's kind of weird, but the question I have to ask is it how you advertise or where you advertise?
Question is how you advertise or where you advertise. One cannot be mutually exclusive from the other. If you advertise in a great spot and have a terrible message, you're not going to be successful. If you have a great message in the wrong place, you're still unsuccessful.
Because the reason why I bring it up is because I advertise on a wedding board with children and nameless, but I find that I tend to get the same kinds of customers from that board. So I'm wondering if it's my message or the medium.
Yeah, I think that might be the medium. I don't know what the board is. So it's like, that's a tough one to answer specifically. Yeah, I honestly couldn't tell you without looking at that further. Because if you're getting like low-end clients that want you to do the job for $200 through that board, well, maybe it could be your message, it could be your images,
Right.
it could be that board only attracts that demographic. So it's tough to sometimes nail that down without investigating that a little bit more. So I just we got to wrap it up. But if there's any other questions that you guys have, I would love to answer them now.
When you give your pictures, do you give your name on the picture?
No, I don't put a watermark on my picture. I figure if they have paid for the picture, they get one without a watermark.
And if they ask you for all the pictures?
No, you can buy them. Like my pictures are not free. And I will explain to people that like when you're getting images, I'm effectively giving you the license to use these. You're not getting the image. It's, I approach it very differently. Digital images, just because they're digital doesn't make them free. I know other people do it. I'm not that person, and I have no problem telling somebody that I'm not. All right, and get your head out of that mindset like you have to do that. Don't let the low-end customer dictate how you should be as a photographer. Yep.
So one of our customer profiles is really effective to advertise at trade shows.
So first, so I'm just going to repeat part of this. So one of your customer profiles is like, people at trade shows.
Yes, because that's the type we do automotive, so a lot of swap meets, a lot of car shows.
Well, swap meets and car shows, yep.
Those are the people that they go specifically to those meets.
Yep.
So many photographers are fly-by-nights that, I'm a mom, I can do this for $60. Would you do a trade show more than once, even if you felt that you didn't get what you hoped for the first time, just to show that you were there permanently and you're not that?
So yeah, would I do a trade show more than once just to show that I'm not a fly-by-night? Generally speaking, a lot of those trade shows, like if it's a trade show that's like attended by the exact same people every time, maybe I might. But overall, I mean, if a trade show just doesn't feel like the right fit for me, I kind of write it off and just go, okay. And I'm super hyper analytical of myself when I go to these trade shows. And I am like thinking back, like even after the first day, if it's a multi-day thing, like did I offer the right promo? Did I do that? I'm paranoid that way. And I will hyper analyze this over and over again. And I try to think like, ultimately, did this work for me? And sometimes, like, I'll give you a great example. Like, I would have thought the sex shows would have been amazing as a boudoir photographer. They were the stupidest thing I've ever done. They were not a good venue for me. A lot of people walking around, you know, they weren't my client. If I get a sense that that event does not have my client in it, then I just go, nope. And I've gotten a lot better these days of kind of looking at shows and seeing if they do match my clientele.
I think what you said about getting leads, we were hoping to get bookings, and now I realize it's the word of mouth and the leads that we got.
Yeah, the point you make is great, where it's like when you go to a trade show, get leads, don't think you're going to get bookings, because you'll instantly go, nope, trade show doesn't work. But if you get leads, and please, by the way, for those of you who do go to trade shows and you do work them, please take one of these with you. Don't ever give people a piece of paper and say, here, fill out your name and email. I swear to God, you are going to kill yourself trying to decipher people's handwriting. And like when you finally enter them all, right, after you spend hours doing this, because it's like nobody's email address makes sense, right? Like there's a few people like trevor.sherwin@gmail.com or something like that. Those are few and far between. Most of them are like fairy princess 64.5, like, you know, like it's like you can't, you have to like look at it and you're like, oh God, what does that say? You'll spend hours doing it. Don't do that. Please don't do that. And then when you do send your first email to all those people, what it ends up happening is like, oh, you know, like you get like, these ones were scrubbed because they didn't actually exist because you typed them wrong. So always get people to fill out forms electronic at trade shows. That will provide much better leads. I should have mentioned that earlier. So question online?
A couple of questions online. Zad wants to know, how do you offer prints?
How do I offer prints?
Like he offers or she offers 8x10 matted photo prints, and so they want to know.
Oh yeah, like there's lots of different ways to do prints. I mean, a lot of times I tend to do finished wall art work. But there's no right or wrong to this. I mean, sometimes you do an image box. I mean, like this isn't the exact image box I would use because this is just a basic proof box. But I mean, I'll have, like GTA makes these great proof boxes. Actually, couldn't have segued me better than anything to these things. These are the new, help me Andy, Ashwood, thank you. These new Ashwood little boxes, like wood sides, nice things on the front, perfect for books or matted prints. Like I would sell them inside this, or one of their regular presentation boxes. But I jazz it up. I don't do anything cheap, right? Like nothing goes out of my business looking meh. Like it's always got to look fancy, and it's also got to be branded. Every book, every box, everything has this logo stamped on it. Why? Well, I'd like to spend more money with the guys at GTA, which they love me for. But it's also to really hammer home that I am a luxury brand. I do not want to be a bargain basement product, ever. So yeah, like there's lots of ways you can offer prints. Depends on what aligns with you. I mean, you can do image boxes too. I mean, there's one. Sort of like this. Like you could do like little boxes with 4x6s in them. You could dress the box up. You could do all sorts of things, but just make sure it's something that maybe is different for you. And that's the great thing about these guys, because they have so many different options. But I think let's wrap it up because we're a little over on time. And then I'll just say for the most part, thanks guys. If you're interested in my mentoring program, I can do it in person and I can do it over a distance too. We just don't meet in person. We'll just do it via Skype or email or phone calls and stuff. If you want some of that, just info@phototraining.ca. And also make sure you follow GTA Imaging on Instagram. What is it? @GTA Imaging, very simple. If you want to, follow me, see what I do, provocateur_images on Instagram. And hopefully you guys are gonna be here May 31st for in-person sales. I'm excited for that one, because that is where you get to make more money. So, thanks everybody. I'm gonna sign off on the YouTube land. So thank you everybody online for attending. And everybody else, thank you very much for coming.